The story of the Dyatlov Pass incident is a haunting tale from the cold heart of Soviet Russia. For more than 60 years, it has captured the imagination of people all over the world. The mystery began in 1959, when 9 experienced hikers went on a journey and never returned. What rescuers found on that lonely mountain slope was so strange, so terrifying, that it created decades of questions. People wondered if it was a military experiment, a strange creature, or something even more mysterious. The lack of clear answers from the original investigation only made the story grow into a legendary puzzle, a true-life horror story that seemed impossible to solve. The hikers were a group of friends, mostly students from the Ural Polytechnic Institute. They were young, strong, and very skilled at surviving in the wilderness. Their leader was a 23-year-old named Igor Dyatlov. In late January 1959, they started a difficult trek through the northern Ural Mountains. They planned to reach a mountain called Otorten, a trip that was considered a top-level challenge for winter sports. One hiker, Yuri Yudin, had to turn back early because of illness, a decision that ultimately saved his life. The remaining 9 continued their journey, documenting their happy, adventurous moments in diaries and photographs, completely unaware of the fate awaiting them. On February 1st, the group set up their tent on the slope of a mountain known as Kholat Syakhl, or Dead Mountain in the local Mansi language. This was their last campsite. When they failed to send a telegram by their expected return date, families grew worried and search parties were sent out. On February 26th, searchers found the group's tent. It was badly damaged and covered in snow. Strangely, the tent had been sliced open from the inside as if the hikers were desperate to escape. All their belongings, including warm clothes and supplies, were left behind in the freezing cold. The discovery of the tent was only the beginning of the mystery. The searchers followed footprints in the snow, leading away from the camp and down the slope. The footprints showed that the hikers were wearing only socks or were even barefoot. They had run from their shelter into the brutal sub-zero temperatures without proper gear. The first 2 bodies were found under a large cedar tree, more than a mile away from the tent. They were dressed only in their underwear. 3 more bodies, including Igor Dyatlov's, were found between the tree and the camp. It took 2 more months for the remaining 4 hikers to be discovered, buried under deep snow in a ravine. The official investigation in 1959 only deepened the mystery, leaving behind a collection of bizarre and unsettling clues that fueled countless theories. The most famous clue was the state of the tent itself. Why would experienced hikers cut their way out of their only shelter in a blizzard? It suggested they were fleeing from an immediate and terrifying threat inside the tent, something that gave them no time to even untie the entrance. Yet investigators found no evidence of another person or an animal attack near the campsite. This single fact made simple explanations very difficult to accept for many people who studied the case. The injuries found on the bodies were another major point of confusion. The first 5 hikers who were found appeared to have died from hypothermia, which means they froze to death. But the last 4 hikers, discovered in the ravine, had suffered terrible internal trauma. One hiker, Lyudmila Dubinina, had several broken ribs. Another, Semyon Zolotaryov, had similar chest fractures. A third, Nicolas Thibault Brignolel, had a major skull fracture. The doctor who performed the autopsies said the force required to cause these injuries was like being hit by a car. Yet strangely, there were no significant external wounds or bruises on their bodies. Adding to the strangeness was the condition of some of the bodies found in the ravine. Lyudmila Dubinina was missing her tongue, eyes, and parts of her lips. Semyon Zolotaryov was missing his eyeballs. These discoveries led to some of the wildest theories, involving secret military interrogations, or even an attack by a cryptid creature. The original investigators did not have a good explanation for these missing parts, which allowed speculation to run wild for many years. It was one of the most gruesome details of a case already filled with horror and made it seem like something inhuman was involved in their deaths. Finally, there was the matter of radioactivity. When the hikers' clothing was tested, some of it showed low levels of radiation. This fact immediately made people think about secret weapons testing. The Cold War was at its peak, and the idea of a military cover-up seemed very possible. People wondered if the hikers had accidentally stumbled upon a secret military zone and were eliminated to protect state secrets. Combined with reports of strange orange spheres seen in the sky around that time, the radiation clue made the Dyatlov Pass incident feel like a real-life X-file, a story where the truth was being hidden by powerful forces. For decades, the case remained officially unsolved, with the 1959 investigation vaguely blaming a compelling natural force. However, in 2024, Russian authorities announced that the mystery was finally solved based on new scientific modeling. The official explanation points to a specific and rare type of avalanche known as a slab avalanche. This theory was developed by Swiss scientists who used advanced computer simulations to recreate the conditions on the mountain that night. Their research showed that even on a relatively gentle slope, a combination of factors could have triggered a deadly event, providing a logical framework for what happened. The new theory explains that the hikers themselves may have unintentionally caused the avalanche. By cutting into the snowpack to create a level surface for their tent, they weakened the layer of snow above them. Later that night, strong winds, known as katabatic winds, could have piled more snow onto the slope. This added weight and pressure eventually caused a large, heavy slab of snow to break free and slide down onto the tent. This would not have been a massive, roaring avalanche, but a sudden, crushing weight. This explains why there were no obvious signs of a large avalanche at the site when rescuers arrived. This slab avalanche theory directly addresses the mysterious and severe injuries. The hikers were lying down inside their tent when the heavy block of snow hit them. The immense pressure would have been enough to cause the skull fractures and broken ribs seen on some of the victims, similar to the force of a car crash. Because the force was distributed by the heavy snow, it could have caused massive internal damage without leaving significant bruises on the skin. This explains why the injuries looked so strange to the original investigators. The sudden impact and crushing weight would have created a terrifying and chaotic situation inside the tent. This event also explains why the hikers fled in such a hurry. After the slab of snow hit, some were injured, and the tent was likely crushed and filled with snow. They would have been trapped in the dark, struggling to breathe and panicked. Cutting their way out would have been the fastest way to escape. Once outside, they faced a new problem, a blizzard with temperatures around -45°C and very low visibility. They tried to retreat to a nearby tree line for shelter, but in the darkness and storm, they were unable to find their way back to their tent and its life-saving supplies, leading them to eventually succumb to the extreme cold. Despite the official conclusion, the avalanche theory is not accepted by everyone. Some experienced mountaineers and avalanche experts remain skeptical. They point out that slab avalanches are very rare on slopes with an incline as gentle as the one where the hikers camped. The original search party also reported no obvious signs of an avalanche. These experts argue that while the scientific model is interesting, the real-world conditions make it an unlikely scenario. For these doubters, the official explanation feels too convenient, an attempt to close a case that still has too many unanswered questions for their liking. The official story does provide logical answers for some of the other strange clues. The missing tongue and eyes are now believed to be the result of natural decomposition and scavenging by small animals like rodents or birds. In the wet environment of the ravine where the last bodies were found, soft tissues would have decayed quickly. The traces of radiation on the clothing are also explained away. It is likely that some of the hikers had contact with radioactive materials through their work or studies, possibly related to the nearby Kyshtym nuclear disaster of 1957. These explanations remove the need for conspiracy theories involving military secrets or aliens. Even with these logical explanations, some people still feel that the official story does not fully capture the terror of that night. They ask why the hikers walked so far from the tent instead of digging a snow cave immediately. They wonder about the strange orange lights that were reported in the sky. For these individuals, the avalanche theory feels too simple for a case with so many complex and bizarre elements. The long history of secrecy surrounding the case in the Soviet era also makes it hard for some to trust the new official conclusion. The story has been a mystery for so long that many are unwilling to let it go. In the end, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most compelling unsolved mysteries of the 20th century, even with an official solution on the books. It is a story about the struggle between humanity and the raw, unforgiving power of nature. It forces us to confront the unknown and reminds us that sometimes Even the most logical explanations cannot completely erase the feeling of profound and unsettling mystery. The story continues to fascinate us because it touches on our deepest fears of the dark, the cold, and the things we may never fully understand.